Hey team, we're just going to go through a few options for finishing from the rear body lock. So the rear body lock is a position that we should be aiming to get to from a standing sort of engagement all the time, okay? It's a really good dominant position to work from, and it's also great because often when we use the rear body lock to take someone down, we're already past the legs as we hit the floor, which can be a risk of some of the more sort of classic takedowns of, say, like a double leg. If I'm shooting in and I catch his leg and then I drive down, 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 it's all well and good that I got him down, but now I'm trying to pass the guard, okay? So we want options that give us a pin that's secure, okay? Not just their back hitting the floor and now we're engaging with open guard, closed guard, whatever it may be, okay? So working from the rear body lock, we'll look at a few examples under varying resistance, different size partners, what they do with their posture, etc. Okay? So just starting with some of the most basic, okay? And this will work quite well on someone similar size or smaller to you. You just have to be careful to not dump your partner too hard, okay? Because it's somewhat of a sort of a lift, all right? So often just referred to as like a mat return, okay? Or like a knee tap, thigh tap mat return. All I'm doing is with my rear body lock, okay, which is one key point, it's not symmetrical down the middle. My hands are clasped over the far hip here and my head is facing that same direction. So I'm at a slight angle. Okay, my hips step in and it's like I'm trying to lift him with my thigh bumping under his tailbone. Okay, so just coming back here, as I step in, my hips follow. I don't want to try and deadlift out here. No good for my lower back and not very strong. Okay, so I'm stepping in and lift. Okay, it doesn't need to be a massive lift. I just need his feet slightly off the floor. All right, so as you get used to that action, you might be able to just drill this, popping them up on your hip, pop, okay? Then you can start bringing the tap into it. Now, this is not, again, meant to be dramatic. We don't need to make our partner parallel to the floor and drop them, okay? We just need a slight tap so that their foot anticipates landing back on the floor in one spot and it's slightly shifted. That's going to be enough for us to tip their base out over that point that's shifted. Okay, so we're in position. I step in as I lift, I just tap. Okay, and we bring our partner to the floor. On this one, I'll follow. Okay, so as we're coming in, we lift, tap, and then we're sort of following in position so we can secure the person down on the floor. Okay, and here you can see I've got really good back exposure to immediately start attacking the back. Option one, okay? Next option, a little foot tap or foot sweep, okay? This works really well when our partner's backing into us, okay? And this now is less dependent on size, so we can start using this on bigger opponents that we might not be able to lift with that initial mat return, okay? So, what I mean by they're pushing back, if I've got the rear body lock and I'm driving into my partner, okay, and see how he's sort of weighting his hips back, his weight's on his heels. If I wasn't there, he's sort of tipping back. We're going to exploit that vulnerability, okay? So the side I'm looking to with my head position, okay, and I'm over his right hip in this case, that's the ankle I'm going to tap. It's just a little tap with the instep of my foot. If anything, it's just a little barrier that I make him try and step over. I don't even need to kick the foot per se. I just need to block with the instep of my foot. But as I block, I'm going to pull him over that. So he attempts to step back, and that block is going to interrupt his base so I can follow him down. Okay? So as I step in, he's driving back, I tap, turn, and again, end up in a good position past the legs as we hit the floor. I'll just go solo for 1 sec. The key to this though, is that we don't just pull our partner on top of us. Okay, so I'll do this action in solo so you can see what I'm doing with my feet. I tap. As they're falling, I have to get out from underneath. So I'm not just falling back, I'm tapping and then back stepping on this leg, pivoting. So now the space they're falling into, I'm looking down in a top position. I pivot, I can drop this back knee if I want and make sure I secure over them as they land. Okay? So contrast that with how you could end up if you fall underneath. So if I just focus on tripping him so bad that I'm like pulling down, yes, I've got the takedown, but I'm in a terrible position stuck underneath. He might twist and get onto a top position. So again, as he's falling, try and do this slow, although it's difficult. as he's falling, I'm turning to face so that I end up in a top position. Okay, so that's option 2. Option 3, when we've got a partner who's countering that action and leaning forwards. Maybe I try that, okay, and he then leans forward to try and stop me pulling him back. So he's here. Okay, let's just move back a bit. All right, so on this one, I'm going to take him further forward, seeing as he wants to lean that way. So from this position, okay, I'm going to step around on this backside now. Okay, so not the side I'm looking, this is the leg I'm going to try and interrupt. Okay, now I'm actually using my head for this, but just so you can see the action, we'll just turn around. Okay, as I'm holding this hip, I want to block the leg so he can't step forward, and I want the shoulder to be pushed forward like so, dipping his posture. As that happens, I'm going to take my control from around the waist and slide it up to the shoulders so I can put further leverage on the end of his spine and take his posture down to the floor. Okay, but that push on the shoulder is actually my head as I'm in that position. Okay, so we'll stand sort of here, all right? From this position, I'm gripping, okay, he's leaning forward, so I'm stepping around and I'm driving to get that tilt. As I get his hands approaching the floor, they don't even have to touch the floor, but just getting him leaning forward, that grip I was saying around the waist, I loosen my elbows, okay, and I slide up to the shoulders. As that happens, I'm sprawling back to take my weight over his shoulders. Okay, we'll just go a different angle for that. So we'll go here, okay, here, that's it. All right, I'm stepping around, drive, okay, as I feel that tip, I slide my grip up to the shoulders, sprawling my legs back, putting weight over his hands. I've done all this work to get his hands to the floor, so if he tries to get back to standing now, his hips can come up, but I want to make sure I keep the hands down now. Okay, from here, I focus on breaking the hips down and covering my partner. If he was to re-expose his back, I can follow and bring a hook in to attack the back. If he wants to sort of pull a guard position or expose his back to the floor from here, then I'm focusing on knee driving across to a shin mount, and then following from there, maybe it's to mount, maybe I'm going back to north-south side control, just maintaining a top pin, okay? Last option, and probably the hardest to apply, but once you get this skill, this rear body lock takedown will work on someone who's got a big size difference to you. So this is one of my absolute favorites, but it takes some time to perfect it, okay? So this will work on most postures unless the person is really leaning forward with their hands approaching the floor, but we've just worked that, okay? So with my partner in position, okay, he's fighting my grip here, moving his hips around. What I do, okay, is I'm actually gonna sit my butt towards the floor. And for an instant in time, I'm gonna be hanging entirely off of his hips. Okay, my inside leg, closest to him, my knee's gonna drive straight through the middle of his stance with the goal of my shin buckling one knee and my thigh buckling the other, because my leg's in this V shape. So as I wouldn't be on the ground, but just so it's clearer, as I'm falling, my leg kicks through like so, buckling both knees, and then my body weight attached to his hips is going to pull his hips over mine. Okay, so we'll go through it once, and then I'll talk through a few other key points. So I drive this knee in, and I'm falling here, taking him down. Follow the roll, so I end up in this really strong position. If we just turn around. Yeah, this is good. Okay, this is how I would land, which is a really good leg drag position, okay, which would be no different to me passing from out here instead of passing his leg off and driving my hips in. A leg drag is a really dominant position because I've beaten the hips, his knees and hips are pointing away from me, okay? So again, from the top, my knee and my shin and my thigh are buckling his stance. As he's falling, it's important that his tailbone and butt land across my hips in the pocket over the far hip. So as I'm bringing him down here, okay, paused at this point, I wouldn't sit to the floor, but just so you can see this halfway through, his hip has to land here, again, not on top of me. So I'm pulling it down, his hip hits the floor. I keep this leg elevated with that butterfly sort of hook or crab ride hook to keep his hips high as I return to a top position. So one more time. He's resisting, okay? I sit in, boom, drop, roll into a top position.